Hi, I'm Carlin Holbrook. I'm a John Maxwell Team certified coach, teacher, trainer, speaker, published author, and influencer with more than 25 years of global leadership experience. If there's one thing I've seen firsthand time and time again, it's that the best leaders inspire others to follow their purpose and their passions, while the influence of a bad leader can literally tear down people's potential. Join me for a few sips of leadership tips that will help you become a better leader by first conquering the hardest person to lead, you. All right. Well, hello, sippers. Welcome back to another episode of Leadersips, where we grow in our leadership together with tips while we sip. All right. So today I am thrilled to sip with an incredible leader, Michelle Bockman. She is the president and CEO of CareLink International, or KLI, a nonprofit committed to ending avoidable blindness through innovation and access. But before that, Michelle has 25 plus years of experience, diverse leadership experience at Fortune 100 companies and Silicon Valley startups. She's got an amazing track record, and truly humbled by her track record, honestly, of just innovation and disruption and a customer first mindset. And she has led initiatives that have fueled so much growth and market expansion. She started, and I have so much respect for people who start at the bottom. She started on the factory floor and rose to the C-suite, brings a very practical and a practitioner's perspective, you might say, a very hands-on leadership to her position. And so prior, though, to KLA in 2024, Michelle served as a president of STANLEY X, the innovation division of Stanley Black & Decker. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with the word Stanley, especially these days, where she led efforts to help grow and a lot of technological advancement. So welcome, Michelle. Happy to be sipping with you today.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the warm introduction. I tend to forget how long I've been in the industry, and then when you go through it, I was like, "Wow, I've done quite a bit."
Sometimes we need to do that. We need to reflect a little bit to be like, yeah, okay, I got it. I know
Yeah.
my stuff. I've got lots of great experiences to pull from. And I when I was looking at your roadmap too of your leadership journey, I was just in awe of it. But one thing I really did want to ask you was how did you go from the leap in these Fortune 100s and startups like tech and all of that into nonprofit? So what drove you to make that leap?
So I think I was kind of at this crossroads because I always liked a challenge, and I would call my career very nonlinear. I always did whatever I felt passion for, and I was always looking for a purpose, looking for a challenge, and I had a desire to transform from analog to digital all throughout my career. And so I came to a point after Stanley Black and Decker, and I was like, well, where's the purpose? And I was approached with this opportunity because I had worked with the chair of the board of CareLink many years prior in big corporate GE, and she brought this opportunity to me, and I was like, do I want to go into the nonprofit space? But I took a step back and I said, where is my purpose? Like I felt like I had been doing all this development of technology, but it wasn't in an area where I can drive like where my purpose was. And at the same time, I had some eye issues. So if you don't know, CareLink, as you mentioned before, is about saving people's eyesight. And we've been doing it for like 60 years, and we supercharge it with technology and our community outreach and access, as you mentioned. And so, as I was learning about CareLink and their purpose, and then I was having my own eye issues, like I lost my sight in one of my eyes, the
Mm.
central vision of my sight. And then when I was going through that, I found out I had cancer in the bottom lid of my other eye, my good eye. So, all of this, I felt like the universe was saying, Michelle, where's your purpose? And this personal thing that's happening to you, it's telling you, maybe you should take the leap into nonprofit world with Carolink specifically. So that's how it all happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry you had to go through that in order to find your purpose, but I know like you and I talked, prior to this too. Sometimes those doors open, those roads lead you, and I feel like leading from your heart with purpose and something you're passionate about is really it's everything. And the fact
It
that
is.
you can truly speak from the heart of what that meant for you, you know. Um, I
And
know, sorry, go ahead.
no, and the fact that at CareLink we're developing technology, so that's something I got to do in my career, and I have a passion for developing technology, whether it's in startups or big corporate world. So we're doing that, but we're doing it for low income communities and for affordable technology in those low income communities. So I get to develop technology in our venture studio, and then I get to see all of the work we do in the communities. When you give a little kid a pair of glasses and they can see their mom's face for the first time, or someone who's been struggling in school because they can't see the chalkboard, or I guess it's not chalkboard anymore, the digital board in the front, I feel really good about what we're doing. So that's also at the crossroads of why I'm here and doing what I'm doing.
I love that. I love that. Can you just share a little bit more with our watchers, our listeners about leading from a place of purpose? Because I definitely, one thing that really spoke to my heart about your story was that you truly, it's like you're taking your experience and you've gone through all these amazing places, but that it's leading from what is my purpose? Like, what am I doing to make the world a better place to help, you know, the world? But what if somebody says, like, I don't know what my purpose is. And I know I went through a similar struggle in my early 40s too, climbing the corporate ladder, doing the thing. And then you stop and go, what am I doing? What is this all for? What kind of legacy am I going to leave? So, what kind of advice do you have or guidance would you give to people who are still on that journey trying to figure that out?
It's something I didn't think about until it fell right in front of me. I ended up going to an acquisition business that G had bought, and it was called maternal infant care. We were making incubators and warmers for premature babies. And so when I first got there, I was one of the first GE people there. They walked around and saying, "We're saving babies, we're saving babies." And I was like, "Oh.
Oh,
Oh, we are. And so that clicked with me. And so it kind of fell into my lap. And then after that, I was like, every job I took, I was like, okay, how do I find the purpose here? Or do I bring the purpose there? And so I took jobs as like one of them was like logistics for GE Healthcare, where we were distributing parts all over the world for ERs, for CT scanners, MRIs, ultrasounds. And I looked at that and I was like, well, I had a team of about 600 people. And I was like, what is our purpose here? And I was like, it's saving lives. We're saving lives. That's what we're doing. We're getting the part on there. We're getting the part to the ER or to the hospital on time so that machine can be up and running in the most efficient manner so the little kid with cancer can go and get scanned and they don't have to go home and wait again, another week or two for the machine to be fixed. And so I found purpose that way. I just everything I did then after this working for this business where we're making incubators, I was like, this is how I'm going to go about my life. And so every job I look for that. And so that's how I kind of think about it. And I
mm,
felt like I lost it for a little bit, and I was like, I gotta find it. I gotta find it.
yeah. I love that. And I love when you say it's just saving babies, right? It's saving people's lives. It's so simple. I
Yeah.
think sometimes leaders, we get caught up in the corporate jargon of writing a mission statement or
Yes.
making it sound overly flowery of like, and then at the end of the day, nobody can repeat it. Nobody
Right.
remembers it, right?
Right. And I feel like I'm a people leader. Like I want the best out of my team too. So you think about purpose in the big grand world, the grand stage, but you can also take a step back and say, okay, I've got a team here. And it could be a team of peers, it could be a team of people who work for you. And it could be in your community, your church, your school, your neighbor. But how are you helping each other and how are you supporting each other? And so with my leaders on my team, it's about coaching them and them being the best leaders that they can be. I shied away from giving feedback, or I'd say early in my career when I was a first time manager, and then I kind of was like, well, I'm doing them a disservice if I'm not giving them like really direct feedback, but my approach can soften. And I can take the approach like, all I'm trying to do is make you the best leader you can be. So let's work on this together. And I do believe in that there are no bad employees. I believe that there are jobs that people don't necessarily match with. And so finding the right job for the employee has to be sometimes, what you go do, what you the ultimate goal instead of like, hey, you don't belong here. Well, maybe the job isn't right for that person. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, making my leaders the best leaders possible in whatever way that is, whether it's presenting, using clear thinking, maybe strategizing, and thinking big picture, multi-year goals, and a product roadmap, and helping them with their softer skills or maybe, the hard skills. So I believe in that too. And I know it's not quite like the purpose, but just the fact that it's humanity and helping each other.
No, I think that's absolutely plays into purpose too. And
Yeah,
transformative leadership is really, I think, at the heart of what impact is. And I'm sure like you understand too of, being a part of companies and so many different types of products or initiatives, et cetera. At the end of the day, it really is about the people, right? The
it
people
is.
that you're impacting, whether it's the lives you're saving, the babies you're saving, or the people that you're impacting who are on your team.
Hmm.
And yeah, I get that about feedback. I feel like sometimes in the work environment, people take that. So the assertiveness, it's like you can be assertive, but in a caring way. It
Yeah.
doesn't, not aggressive. And I do think those are two completely different things. But I feel like sometimes in work environments, people, I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And
Yeah.
I applaud that you get that. Have employees where you have given them that direct but caring, speaking truth and love kind of feedback, have they always accepted that? How have they reacted to that?
When I started practicing it, it was a little hard. I had to kind of hone in on what my leadership style was when I was doing it, because being super direct isn't great, but being too soft, then they don't get the point. And I think you have to adapt to the person too. So, knowing the person and how they take the feedback it's unique for each person. And I got to a point where I had people on my team, like after they would present and I would listen to them, like they would present to the board or to a bunch of executives, and then right after they're texting me, how did I do? How did I do? Because they want that instant feedback. And
Sure.
I'm like, wait, I'm headed to another meeting. Give me an hour. And so they got to the point where they at least in this one couple of different organizations, they were like, please give me more, because they saw the results of the feedback. And it's funny because I talk about this curse of knowledge. And I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's like when you know so much about your business or the technology, when you're talking to somebody else, you start using acronyms and you go deep into
Yes.
it. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, what are they talking about? So it's about bringing up the level of communication. And because that curse of knowledge is because you know your business so well that you just start speaking it and you expect everybody else to. So it's something we've been talking about on our team a lot, because we have some very, very smart people on the team. And I've seen a lot of people blossom in their communication style and being able to explain what we do in a very simple manner.
Yeah, I think every team culture has that to an extent, right? But
Yeah.
especially big global companies and brands where you have your own internal language. I know I love KLI. I'm like, yeah, because Disney's full of acronyms. That's how we speak
Right.
to each other. And
Yes.
and you're right, you take it for granted, not just speaking externally to people, especially if you're trying to fundraise or convince people of what you're doing and buying into that. But even sometimes I feel like internally when you have somebody new on the team, it's like we have to teach you a whole new language, to adapt
Yeah.
into the culture here. But you're right, it's easy to get like into that. I always find when I train new people, I have to go, oh yes, I have to be more mindful of WDI, that stands for Walt Disney Imagineering, or you have to like
Yeah.
spell out the things for them. So I think that's a really good kind of mindful leadership style as well, because you're always going to have to explain what you do and what your company does to somebody new.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying, that the feedback, it's interesting though. Not everybody wants it, not everybody craves it, but I do find, and maybe you found this too, that the people who do want to grow, they do want to hear it. They want
Hmm.
to, and even sometimes it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of hard to hear at first, but giving them actionable steps to take so they can grow. And as long as they know that you're coming from a place where I'm in your corner, I got your
Yep,
back, and
exactly.
my motive is to help you, not harm you. I feel like then that's true transformative leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
awesome. So you have been from the factory floor, to Stanley, Black and Decker. I mean, all the levels in the organization. And you've also, what I found really interesting is, your background has been in a lot of very traditionally male-dominated fields, like even the medical field to some extent, but definitely technology. I mean, Black and Decker goes way, way back in the good old days, if you will. I remember my dad had those old thermoses and the drills and all the things. So what has it been like being a woman in leadership in some of those fields?
What's interesting is I went to an engineering school in Missouri. It's called Missouri University of Science and Technology. They changed the name a few years ago, so I always have to think about it. But it was mostly engineering. You really couldn't get a degree outside of the technical field. And going to school there, I was 20% of the population, females were 20% of the population. So
Wow.
it started way early, when I was 18, starting off to college and looking around the room. And I was like, okay, 20%. I see some women here, this is great. But when I went into mechanical engineering department, then the classrooms were like one or two, maybe three of us in a
Wow.
classroom. So it really dwindled down when we got into mechanical engineering. So I kind of learned right off the bat in college that I was going to be one of the few people in the classroom. And you there's this there's a confidence level. You kind of like, oh, do I speak up or do I just kind of like let everyone else speak up? And so I know I was quiet for a while, and it took me, some time to build my confidence in those classrooms, but I eventually did, and it came with, being, performing. And so I took that to the manufacturing floor. So I was a manufacturing engineer on the floor. Again, one of the few females. And I think, I felt like I had to prove myself. I probably worked a little harder than, I don't want to say that I worked harder than the next person, but I felt like I probably did. And um, and so I think it just it kind of makes you take a step back and really analyze the room before you speak. And that's how I was early in my career. And then I looked around at the women that were executive leaders at the time, and I felt like I needed to be like them and dress like them and act like them, which was not necessarily my personality. It was a little bit more masculine than I am, and more like pounding fist on the table and really tough.
Mm.
And it just wasn't my personality. And I came across an individual who ran a plant, and he was just so nice, and he was effective, and he got things done. And so I was like, that's me. That's how I want to be. And so I learned to come into my own leadership style by seeing someone else who was like me in my personal life. And I was like, well, that's why can't I bring that to the table? And so I did. And I did it unapologetic. I just did it. And I wore my pink suit if I wanted to. And I of course I was still wearing, stainless steel boots. But I I felt like I was coming into my own, and that took a little while. Excuse me. It took a little while to come into that. I would say it was mid-career before I really got there.
Mm.
And then I got my voice. My authentic voice, my best authentic self. and using my voice. And again, I was one of the few females around the table, and I still saw that all throughout my career. I still see it, in technology and manufacturing and supply chain and even in the health field, like you said. But I it's just the way it's always been for me. And I've learned to adapt, and I think you do, and I think you learn how to be resilient. I think that's one of the common themes in my career is just this resiliency. When something doesn't go exactly the way I want it to go, then, you learn from it and you keep going.
Mhm. I love that. I will give my friend Elaine a shout out. She's a female engineer, and I know she has struggled with like some of the boys' club, kind of
Oh, yeah.
things. So your advice is huge, and thank you for it too, of just stepping into your own shoes and being who you are and realizing that command and control style it's not
Yeah.
needed in order to get results. And wow, so grateful that you saw a male in the field showing you that,
Yeah.
to help kind of say, oh, this is okay. So
Yeah.
kudos to whoever that boss was, because I'm sure he was
Yeah.
going against the flow of his own,
Yeah.
circle for sure.
And you
That's
do
a,
need allies. When you're
yeah,
going through your career, you need your sponsors, and in the corporate world, a sponsor and allies who are there for you to support you and you learn from, and they are at the table, maybe at the higher level table when us decisions are being made. And if they know you, then maybe you get that shot at that next job. And so that helps having those allies and sponsors.
definitely, definitely. But you still have to be yourself too, your authentic self. And
Yes.
otherwise, I feel like so many people try to be like a lot of women in leadership, especially try to be like men or try to be like other women they might see. And it's like at the end of the day, you're just putting on a mask, you're putting on a facade, you're not being who you are. And people know that. They read
Yeah.
that, right? You know, when people are putting up a wall or a facade or wearing them out or just like not being authentic. And I think especially as we have more, millennial and Gen Z in the workforce now, full force, they pick up on that, I think, more than ever, right? That
Yeah.
you've got to be authentically you. So that's amazing.
And it can stress you out trying to be somebody you
Yeah.
aren't.
Yeah, it's
It takes a
exhausting.
toll. It takes a toll on your body and your mind, your mental state, I think.
Yeah. I know, I completely agree with you. I think early in my career, I was trying to emulate the women leaders above me,
Yeah.
and it was exhausting. I don't think I realized that I was doing it. I think I was just like, I'm a chameleon because I was taught by somebody who
Yeah.
mentored me, be a chameleon, be whoever your boss wants you to be. And yeah, that you definitely rise through the ranks like that, but then at some point you're going to fall off that ladder because you're creating someone who doesn't even exist. You're trying to be like somebody else, mentally draining, exhausting every day, and you don't even realize that's why. At least I
Yeah.
didn't early in my career, and it took, my own coach and my own like, reflection to be like, "Wait, hold on. This isn't me. Like what am I
Right.
doing?" And being
Right.
okay with that. But it's a little scary at first, right? Like when you start,
Right.
I'm going to wear the pink suit. Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And leaning
It's
into
kind
your
of,
strengths, and
yeah.
a lot of people like to focus on their weaknesses or their development areas. Well, that's fine, and you should. However, these strengths that you have, lean into those and be known for those. So when you do have that next job, and you don't have to be a chameleon, they know you for what your strengths are, and that's the job. And you'll be so much happier. You in general.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm a big believer in strength finder and
Me too.
yeah, knowing that what your strengths are because I agree. It's like I know I'm never going to be a mathematician, and I'm okay with that. Numbers are not my jam, but
Yeah.
I surround myself with a diverse team of people, and what we need to fill the gaps for each other and complement each other, et cetera. And yeah, keep getting sharpening your strengths. And I think more of the opportunities or weaknesses. I think you just have to be really discerning on what that means. If it's an opportunity like, oh, I could get better at relationship building skills or conflict manager, like absolutely. Like we all have those types of skills we can get better about. But if I'm literally trying to be something or work in a place where I'm not, then like you said before, I'm not going to be a right fit for that role. Like I have another
Yeah,
role somewhere else that I need to go and find. And
right.
I feel like we do try to cookie cut people a little too much and it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, and our strengths should be like our own superpowers.
It should
Uh,
be.
yeah.
And you like StrengthsFinder. I
hmm
love StrengthsFinder and colors and insight
hmm
colors. I don't know if you've done that. Those are
Yeah.
fun activities I've done with teams to make sure I have a diversity of thought leaders on the team.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, I recently actually did with my own team, High Five, which
High
is
five.
like it's a simpler version of Strength Finder and frankly a free version if people don't have
Oh,
budgets out there.
I like that.
Yeah, it's great and it's a quick test, so it gives you kind of the high level of people's strengths, and then I like to grid them across. So you see the person's name and then across the strengths at the top. And then when you start to see what's such a cool exercise with your team is you go, oh, you're high in that. Oh, that makes sense. Or hey, you and I
Yeah.
are both high in that. Oh, interesting. Or in some cases too, it's like, wow, we have everybody in this strengths over here, but nobody in these strengths over here, and we need
Yeah.
those strengths. So I think
Yes.
it's hiring leaders that helps you. At least it helps me to think about. Oh, I probably need more people in this strategic. I have a lot of deliverers. That's great. I need deliverers, but I also need strategists and I also
Yeah.
need brainstormers and big picture thinkers. So how do you then, create a more diverse team that'll help deliver, but then also I think it's the awareness is so great too because then I can go to somebody who's like, "Oh, good, you're a high deliverer. I'm more of a big picture person. Can we work together? Can we do this
Yes.
together?" And
Exactly.
like, get the tactics and the strategy married together so you get the best possible, thing out the door for sure. Whatever
Yeah.
that product may be, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what I do. Yep.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many great tests out there, but
Hmm.
I think all of them add value, and I always make sure people know too. It's not the be all end all. This is just a tool. This isn't like to put you in a little box and say, "Oh, now you're just this or now you're just that." It's more of a reflection tool and an
Yeah.
evaluation tool to help you understand like where are your strengths, where are your maybe blind spots and gaps and things that you can work on together. Yeah, I think some people get weirded out about that because there's so many. There's even tests I haven't done, like what animal are you? What this are you? What that? Enneagram, or I could go on for days,
Yeah.
right? And I like them too because to me, it's just,
Yeah.
hey, I'm just gathering more information. It's just more
Yeah.
information to help assess. And so,
Exactly. Love it. Love it.
yes, you mentioned resilience. That is, I feel like change is the only constant, right? And
Yeah.
the marketplace more and more and more. I mean, the world just is constantly changing. So, what advice or how do you build resilience?
Wow. Like right now, from a business perspective, I'm really trying to get my arms wrapped around AI and how I can use it in
Yeah.
my business. I mean, I use it every day, but how do I use it like from a digital marketing
Mm,
standpoint, and outreach to get donations in the door or fundraising or, get in front of the right people? Um, that's like I think you have to have tools to be resilient in marketplace. So you got to, look forward for the future proofing of your business and making sure you're staying relevant, and which is a form of resilience. How I've done it myself is it's funny because I just gave this advice to two people, my children, my adult children,
nice.
about rewriting the script in your head. So when something
Mm,
challenging happens to you, give yourself grace to feel bad about it or to take it in and, absorb it and, figure out like, is there something I could learn from this? And take that time, which I give myself like 24 hours. And then it's like, okay, rewrite the script in my head so I can move forward and it's not just sitting back here like gnawing at me.
yeah.
And it's almost excuse me, it's almost kind of like lying to yourself a little bit, like, hey, I'm better than this. I can do this, and picking the pieces up and putting it back together and rewriting that story in your head so then you can go take on the next thing. And but I call it rewriting the script in your head.
I think that's powerful because I mean, let's be honest, probably 99.9% of what we do is all mental mindset, right?
Yeah,
So whether we're going to be successful or not successful, I feel like starts in here.
it does.
Definitely. And it is the hardest thing to rewrite your mental thoughts, your
Oh, it
frame,
is.
especially when it comes to failures. And
Yep.
I don't know if you know Ryan Leake, he wrote a great book, Chasing Failure. And it's so counterintuitive, I think, to just humans in general. Like, why would I chase failure? But that's really how we chase innovation is you got to try
Yes,
something and be okay with it not going well to then learn from it. As long as you're applying the learnings to then go forward,
exactly.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything, I love that from a business perspective, from a life perspective. Are there any practices to that you do in even in your personal life when you think about resilience and taking breaks and what that looks like from just a crazy world and a crazy marketplace?
yeah, I believe in PTO. I believe in my team taking vacation, holiday, um, because I feel like you need a break. And even like getting sunlight 15 minutes, I think there's a stat around getting sunlight every 2 hours for 15 minutes or something like that,
Mm,
like walking outside, getting fresh air, feeling the sun on your face, that renews you so you can come back and be better at the next thing that you're doing. I believe in breaks. I believe in vacation. I believe in taking the time away. I think when I have my hardest problems to solve, going
mm,
for a walk, going to the gym, whatever that looks like for you, taking that break, walking away, and then thinking about it, or maybe not thinking about it. And then all of a sudden the solution comes to you. And I used to do that a lot when I used to run. I used to run almost every day, and I don't
mm.
run well, I ran yesterday, but not usually. Um, so I truly believe in that. People have to take their downtime, whether it's meditating or, working out, but taking care of your mind, body, and soul. And I think then you're a better leader for that. And
Yeah.
it's something it took me a while to even, coming from the corporate world, was like, what? I'm not taking all my PTO, because you might look like you're, I don't know, not performing or something. But I've never like I believe in it. And I think people are better when they go out on leave and then they come back. I feel like I get a new person, refreshed energy.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I think more leaders need to have that mentality. I saw James Hewitt speak recently, who is all about performance, performance excellence. I think he's a former cyclist, et cetera, who said the only time you actually have a breakthrough is when you take a break. So
Hmm.
that's why ideas come when you're taking a walk. I love it, getting outside, like breaking your
Yes.
mind out of what you're currently in the shower or at a bar on
Yes.
on the back of the napkin thing. That's where that
Yeah.
comes from, right? It's like you're not even paying attention to that stuff. You're doing something else, and then it's like, oh, your mind had a chance to break, and then you have a breakthrough. And so it's so funny though. Why do you think corporate cultures still reward the activity over outcome and, work, 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 and I see you in an office 14 hours a
Yeah.
day. That must mean you're doing such great things. Like,
I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's just an old mentality. I think our newer generation is not like that.
mm,
I think they're more outcomes based. If I perform, I don't need to be in the office 40
yeah,
hours a week. I think that's
yeah.
how I see it anyways with a few Gen Zs that I have working. Um, and they perform all very, very high performers. But I think it's going to change. I get the feeling it will.
I hope so. How ironic
Yeah.
too. Like being a
Yeah.
Gen Xer myself, I want that. I'm like, come on, Gen
Yeah.
Zers, hurry up.
Yes. Yeah.
Influence our org, influence the way we
Right.
work.
Yeah.
It's
Because we
kind
were
of
the ones working really hard.
right, right. I know, but then it is funny, like when you have the people even that go before you, that mentality is still existing. I think you absolutely nailed it. I think it's just the way it always was. And
Yes.
too many people fall back into those old habits. I mean, COVID, I felt like was going to change all of that so much, modernize the work environment. People were
Yeah.
working remotely. We opened up the world even more globally. It was amazing. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of been sad to me to see companies marching backwards to the way it was in 2019 and
I know.
earlier. It's like, man,
Yeah.
you had the pivotal moment, you had the tipping point, like you could have done it differently. And I'll be honest, I don't get it. I don't understand like
I
the why.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I do believe that you have to come together as a team, but not
Sure.
every day. Not every day. You can have monthly meetings or quarterly meetings or, you know, biannual meetings to bring the team together to make sure that you are fostering collaboration. My team and I were just talking about this. They're like, "Oh, we're pretty good." Because I was like, "I feel like I need to see you guys in person because it's been a while." And they're
Yeah.
like, we're good. We're good. We're collaborating, which they are. They are a really close-knit team. So it's good.
I love that. Well, that's a reflection of good leadership, that's for sure. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I love that you can see, yes, it does feel good to all be physically in a room together on occasion. Absolutely. But I think that's where digital technology has has been wonderful that you can stay connected with somebody so instantaneously. Of course, also when it comes to breaks and mental health and all that, probably need to disconnect from it too. But I feel like,
Yes,
as humans, we got to set our own boundaries on that stuff
we
too.
do. We do. I belong to Chief Executive Women's Network, and one of my coaches there was talking about setting boundaries.
Mm,
And I believe in that, setting those boundaries, as you mentioned. It's And so when I've had a couple of people say, "Oh, well, this person," I was like, "Set your boundaries. You got to set your boundaries, whether it's
yeah,
personal or professional." And it's too easy to say yes all the time. You got to say no once in a while.
yeah. We're kind of, I think a lot of us overachievers tend to be people pleasers, right? Just a little bit.
Yes.
But I did have a coach friend of mine tell me once, and it stuck with me, although I'm still I call myself a recovering people pleaser, that serving someone, yeah, I'm working on it. There are days, but your culture plays into that a lot too.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between pleasing someone and serving someone. So I love
Yeah.
that. And I try to help remind myself of that too, is it's okay to set a boundary if that serves the other person or serves myself or serves the
Mhm.
greater need of the organization. So you have to be careful that we're not just trying to people please, which means, yeah, saying no sometimes to things or saying
Yeah.
no to the good in order to say yes to the great and to the bigger.
Yes.
And that can be
Yeah.
challenging at times too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What would you say to someone though that maybe has leaders that like to what advice, like how do you even tee up something like that or have that conversation with a leader, with a client, with a partner that to setting boundaries?
Oh, if it's someone you report to or a client, it's tough. But I work these hours, and if you need me, I can get on at X, this time limit if it's around time. I don't know what the boundary would be, but I think you can set those expectations, I would say early, do it right
Hmm.
off the bat so the habits don't form. But if they do form, then you can also just say, "Hey, time out. This isn't working for me. Like all I do is
Yeah.
work. I need the time to step away, and I'm not getting it right now." And
Yeah.
I think I would hope all leaders would be like sympathetic to that and know that they're going to get a better outcome by giving that person those boundaries.
Hmm. I would hope so too. And if not, then maybe you should work for somebody else.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, speaking of people either you've worked for or mentors or sponsors or anybody that you've had in your life, like is there someone that who has just really inspired you that you've looked up to and why and how has
Yeah,
that relationship played a role for you?
yeah, there is a gentleman. His name is Mike Swinford. He is the CEO of New Motion. And I met him in college and I hadn't seen him in years, and he worked at GE right out of college and he was a year or two older than me and ended up running into him and he ended up um, running the service org for GE. And at some point, I ended up working in the service org. And then ever since then, he was my sponsor, and he helped shepherd my career. And he didn't always give me the jobs that I applied for. As a matter of fact, I think I had told him one time that I feel like I'm always the bridesmaid and never the bride when I
I love that.
and I was kind of joking. I was joking, but there was some truth behind it
Yeah,
too.
of course.
But
Yeah.
but he supported me, and he was in the room when these big opportunities came to light. And at GE, it was really hard to become an executive, and he gave me my opportunity to become an executive. He is someone who leads with heart.
Mm.
He's very personal, and he brings that to the job every day. And what's interesting is my son now works for his company.
Oh,
And
wow, that's cool.
yeah, yeah. And it was, I spoke at their women's network a few years ago. And when my son was getting ready to graduate, he said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." And one of the ladies that I was working with to prepare for the women's network uh, presentation, she reached out and she goes, "Oh, we might, we kind of like to hire some, people right out of college and new to career." And so that started the conversation, and I backed off. I was like, "Okay, this, I can't do anymore. This is up to my son to make it happen." And so full circle is that my son met him face to face last week, and heard his client stories and his personal journey. And it was just, he's one of these people who, like I said, leads with heart. And so I just thoroughly look up to him. He's one of the best, if not the best leader I've ever worked for.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that he's still a part of your life, even though you've gone on to other companies and done other things too. And what an impact they make on us, right? For
Yes.
lasting impact.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So speaking of your current company, because before we start to wind down in our conversation, I want to make sure you have a chance to really share about CareLink and all the great work you're doing there. How can
Yeah.
people understand more, get to know you, connect with you, around KLI? Got to use
Yeah.
that
So
acronym.
I like it. CareLink is trying to save people's lives and their
Mm,
eyesight. And so we've been doing this for a very long time, since like 1962, I believe. And we're doing that through community outreach. So we literally are going into the communities and helping with screenings of children in income communities, and we're providing eyewear for them. And so if someone wants to give, they can donate on our homepage, and they can donate, 25, $50 for someone to get their eye screened and a pair of glasses, and help that little kid,
love
like I
that.
mentioned before, see their mom's face for the first time, like
I love
clearly.
that.
I couldn't believe it. Like we did some pilots before we went
Mhm.
full blown, as you would probably expect. And the comments these little kids were making, it just, I was in tears on the impact we were making. And we've actually impacted about 2 million people's lives, estimated
Wow.
lives, since the inception of CareLink, and
Wow.
through training of surgeons from cataract to cornea, through um, providing education to women in rural communities to go do screenings door to door in homes in India. And so we've just done an incredible amount of work to just help people not become blind just because of where they live.
That's
It's
amazing.
just sad. Like we were focused all in India, and then we were like, earlier this year we were looking around. I was like, well, what about the people in the US? There's
Mm.
so many communities that are under in poverty, that are not even getting screenings. And
Wow.
some of the states are getting funding from the government to do the screenings, but they're not getting funding to get glasses.
Oh my gosh.
So
Isn't
they get screened and they know
wild.
they need glasses, but then they don't get glasses. And so we're trying to
Mm.
fill that gap. and we're partnering. We just signed a partnership with Kidside out of Missouri, and we'll be working with them on these clinics and like I said, focused on kids as well as other folks in the communities. But yeah, that's how you can get
Mm,
involved. You can donate, you can join our cause through Impact Ambassadors, which is kind of this group of individuals who learn about what we're doing and spread the word and help us bring in funding.
that's awesome. Wow, we take it so for granted that in our own country, because I think sometimes, and I'll be honest, even I sometimes think, oh, that must be a third world problem, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't realize in our own communities, our own country, in our own county,
Yes.
city where we live, this is happening. It's just it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And as
It
somebody who,
it is.
yeah, takes for granted my benefits I get through work and the fact I
Right.
wear glasses and I can have a computer glasses as well as regular glasses. Like it's just incredible the work you're doing, Michelle. It's
Yeah.
just it's it's so impactful and I hope and I'll definitely drop information in the webpage in the link for this too. So I think in such a cuckoo world that we all live in, it's how do we be the change that we get to
Yes.
see in the world?
Yes.
And I think this is just another important way that you're doing it. And so that's amazing. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. Yeah, those
Thank
stories. It's a
you.
good reminder that the world is bigger than our tunnel vision at times that we
Right.
get stuck into in our own lives to
Right.
somebody else for the better in such simple
Yep.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Definitely. Definitely.
So I know you've probably seen this on LinkedIn, but I love to ask the question of, dear younger me, if you could go back, if you had a time machine, went back to any point early on in your career and gave you and could give yourself advice, what would that be?
There was a point I lost my confidence, I would say in my younger years. And I was somebody with a lot of confidence. Like I never had a problem with confidence. And somewhere along the lines, I lost my confidence through whatever it was, situations that I had challenges in or whatever. And I would just tell myself to rewrite the script in my head and get that confidence back and go do it. I've gained, obviously I've gained my confidence back, many years ago, but there was a period of time that I kind of lost it for a while. And it took me a little bit of time to find it. And it was doing, rewriting that script in my head that actually, helped me power through. So yeah,
It's
that would
great,
be it.
great advice. And I think throughout our whole lives, we have those moments where something dings our confidence that we need that reminder to keep rewriting that script.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome advice. All
yeah.
right, last question. You know, it's a sipping. It's all about coffee or tea. Are you a coffee or are you a tea drinker?
In between the two, I prefer tea, but I am a Diet Coke drinker.
Oh, you're a soda drinker. Hey, no judgment, no judgment. I
Yeah,
understand. But
McDonald's specifically.
really, okay, very
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah,
Well, we all need our pick-me-ups, whether
we
however
do.
however you get it. I love it. Well, Michelle, thank you so much. I know you're a super busy lady, you and just for taking the time out of your day to come and talk with us here on Leadersips.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time too. I actually had a really fun time and getting to know you
Okay.
better too. It was wonderful.
Yes. Thank you for having a cup of coffee with me. For more sips and tips, connect with me on social and follow Leadersips on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. And don't forget to visit my website, carlinholbrook.com. Until next time, keep on brewing.